Project Zomboid is known as one of the hardest survival games out there, and it has a very steep learning curve. It can take players hundreds and hundreds of hours until they fully understand and master Project Zomboid. In this video, I'm going to cover the best settings in Project Zomboid for new players, which will help you kill more zombies and help you survive longer. If you do find this video useful, please consider dropping it a like and subscribing to the channel. So when you are starting a new game, you'll be greeted by various difficulty levels: Builder, Survivor, and Apocalypse. I recommend skipping all of these and going straight into Custom Sandbox and choosing your own settings. Now, before we reach the settings, we will be greeted by a Select Spawn Location screen. A lot of you who are new to the game will typically choose Muldrow as it's right at the top of the list. I personally advise avoiding Muldrow and West Point. The reason for this is that the zombies spawn at a much higher density and can make it a pain to get anywhere as a new player. So I recommend spawning in either Riverside or Rosewood. Rosewood has less points of interest than Riverside does, but Rosewood is personally one of my favourite places to spawn into due to the Rosewood fire station and the police station, which both make very good bases. Now that we have the best spawn locations out of the way, we can move on to the settings. So the first setting that I recommend changing is the zombie count. Setting the zombie count to normal will mean that you aren't getting instantly swarmed as soon as you are going out the house. And it will mean that it's not so low that you can't find a single zombie in sight. If you are struggling with it set to normal, go ahead and put it down to low. There's nothing to be ashamed of by having it set to low. If you're having fun, that's all that matters. Next, we have the time settings. I would set the day length to 2-hour days. The reason as to why I do recommend 2-hour days is because it allows you more time to explore and get used to the game. Personally, I feel like 1-hour days are too short and 3-hour days are too long, which makes 2-hour days the perfect length. Next up is the meta settings. In the meta settings, change the corpse removal time from 216 hours to 48 hours. This means that you will only have 48 hours to loot the zombie corpses before they disappear. I do recommend changing this setting as a new player or even as an experienced player playing on a high population, because it will make it so you can avoid the corpse sickness effects, and it will help your game to run smoother because there's going to be a lot less zombies laying dead on the ground. So character is the next setting that we're going to be looking at. I would personally keep everything to default, but there is one setting that you can change if you wanted to, and that is the weapon multi-hit. This will do exactly what it says on the tin. If you swing your weapon, you will end up hitting multiple enemies as opposed to just one. Personally, I prefer playing without multi-hit, but the choice is all up to you. The next setting I would recommend changing is the Allow Minimap option, which can be found under In-Game Map. This will bring a little map up in the bottom right hand corner and will make your navigation so much easier, and will mean that you aren't constantly having to bring up a map. Now we have the advanced zombie settings. So a lot of new players will stumble across this option and be like, what am I even looking at? So let me try and explain. The population multiplier is affected by the zombie count number that you picked under population. So if you pick low, it will be 0.35 population multiplier. And if you pick normal, it will be a 1.0 multiplier. The population start multiplier is the number of zombies that will spawn at the start of the game. Population peak multiplier ramps up your zombie population each day until the population peak multiplier has been hit, which in this case is 1.5 by default. So for these top 4 settings, I would keep them at 1.0 for the population multiplier, 1.0 for the population start multiplier, 1.5 for the population peak multiplier, and 28 for the population peak day multiplier. You can put the peak day number up if you want, but as a new player, I wouldn't ever recommend putting this lower than 28 as you'll just get totally swarmed. Next up, we have the free respawn settings. Turn all of these to 0.0 as otherwise you'll be having zombies spawn every 3 days, and you'll never get to discover the other glorious places such as Louisville.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
For every other setting in this category, I would recommend keeping it set to default. Once you have chosen all these settings, be sure to save your sandbox settings as well by pressing save at the bottom and giving it a name. This will mean that you won't have to manually input these settings every time you start a fresh game. So let's do a quick recap. Zombie count set to either normal or low. Day length set to 2-hour days. Corpse removal time to 48 hours. Multi-hit, you can either turn it on or off, it's totally up to you. Minimap, switched on. Population multiplier set to 1.0. Population start multiplier set to 1.0. Population peak multiplier set to 1.5. Population peak day multiplier set to 28. All 3 of the respawn settings are set to 0.0. If you are new to the game and you are struggling with what build to use, I do have a build video on the channel that I recommend for both new players and veterans alike. You will find a link to it down in the description below. Well, that's it from me, folks. A very special thanks to my YouTube members for all your love and support. I appreciate you all. I hope this video is able to help you survive a little bit longer. Be sure to let me know down in the comments below if the video has helped you in any way, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Project Zomboid content. And I'll see you in the next one.